Pues muy bien, vamos con la última parte de esta interesante entrevista con estos dos grandes de la conservación en el mundo que nos van a platicar otras experiencias muy personales y también qué podemos hacer nosotros para ayudar. Así que espero la disfruten y bienvenidos.
Este es el videoblog de Eduardo Osegueda por el YouTube channel de Fuerza Integral.
What happens if we just let wildcats to go extinct?
What happened? But different viewpoint about it. I mean, we certainly would have lost a unique component of what makes life what it is there. We will certainly have lost part of our humanity. As I said, we are rooted in the love for nature, this connection, being part of something much bigger, and that is a loss. I mean, I can't imagine living on Earth without wildlife, without tiger, without lion, without things like that.
And with us having been responsible for that loss.
And on top of it, with us being the main cause of the disappearance. So we will have lost part of ourselves there. And for me, that's enough to justify the amount of work and effort and resources and things that we have to do. This is a duty. This is a responsibility. This is a collective responsibility to make sure that all animals on Earth or plants, they have the right to exist, and as we do have, and we are responsible for that. We have to refrain from our actions which are creating a danger and actually leading to extinction of a number of species. Now, if you take the utilitarian view of species from a human perspective, they've got a very important role in the ecosystem, in the food chain, regulating the health of the wild population of their prey. We are denying ourselves the way to share the planet with something else, beautiful, which is a result of 1,000 years of evolution, as we are. And then when we look a little bit, but it's a little bit from a specialist point of view, but we are connected to all living creatures. We are all sharing a common ancestor there. Very distant one, granted, but we are all connected.
Siblings.
Physically, biologically. And we feel that connection sometime when we are faced with specific or event that remind us of our animality. It's very easy for people to feel disconnected from nature. There is us and there is nature, and we are not part of it anymore. But in some cases, you are reminded that you are part of it. And one of the main things is coming with big cats. We've all have been with big cats in different things in the wild. We were talking about that yesterday there. When you feel that you are a prey, this is not something which is rational. There is no logic. This is a primal feeling. You are connected. And this animal is much more powerful than you are. They are much more able to get to you. And they don't have feelings. You are just something that fulfill their basic need of finding food. And I've been in situations that I felt that. Not with cats, but for me it was with crocodiles there. You know that you are a snack. But you feel it really wrong. And certainly everything else does not exist. You are in tune with your body, your physical ability, the place you are, the escape route, how fast you are. You feel also this animal also after you. And that's where you reconnect really with nature as I am part of it. I'm not a side of it. My son felt that when he was 5 years old, where we were looking at a jaguar hunting leopard hunting dik-dik in Africa. And that was just happening around him. And he really felt it. He told me, someone will get killed there. And he was completely petrified that it could be him, but it could also be the dik-dik that he was finding. And that is connection is being lost. Losing cats, losing any species of animal, we are losing part of ourselves. And I think we cannot let that happen. We all have kids, and also for me, I would not want my kids to be in a place where there is no cats, that you have to tell them from books and photographs where this was a tiger. And when your grandfather was there, or when I was a kid, we could see them in the wild. That for me, that I would have utterly failed
we couldn't manage to save them.
In my mission, because we could have saved them, and it doesn't take a lot to save them. Sometimes it takes it takes some modesty from our part to acknowledge, agree that we are sharing a planet with relatives. And it doesn't, for me, the value that these animals have in terms of economic or usefulness is irrelevant. It's like when you lose a human life. We wouldn't dare putting a cost of a human life. Now in conservation, very often we are asked to put a cost or a value or a wild elephant or a wild lion or a wild tiger. Why? I mean, you don't need to do that. You don't need to use that argument to justify that we have to care for them. So yeah, for me it's a loss. We lost part of ourselves as human and as individual if you lose these animals.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. No, Fred said it very well. And I think it's very harkens back to a statement that during the Jaguar Journey, when Alan and I were on the Jaguar Journey, he made the statement very similar to what Fred said. This is one of our common heroes. He said, I can't imagine a world without jaguars, and that the conservation was something we had to do it. We just have to do it. This is for the next generation, for ourselves, for our well-being, for the world. So we see it as a mandate.
Yeah, it's a duty. But it shouldn't be a duty. We are pushed towards that, at having a number of people to feel responsible and take care of that. It shouldn't be. It should be totally natural. We are born in a very diverse world with different society, different people, different nationalities, but also different wildlife and different habitat. And for me, that's what makes life on Earth fantastic. I mean, again, I am not somebody who really enjoyed cities and things.
Yes.
But at the same time, I don't live in the jungle or in the desert on a daily basis.
Yes.
So it doesn't really affect me in my everyday life.
Yeah.
But I will feel so miserable knowing that it's not there anymore, that I don't think I could live.
Tell me about your best experience in the field. What's been your best moment in the field?
You've got plenty of those.
Boy,
Best
I
moment.
know you have many.
Hard to pick a best, best experience. I don't know.
I know about a story you told us in Campeche on one of our trips about this You know what I'm talking about?
Which one?
The Jaguar that you went up to.
Oh yeah. And
That's a fantastic story.
Yeah, and that I think is harkens again back to Alan's book Indomitable Beast. That this strong, powerful animal has the capability, as Fred said, to kill any of us very quickly, but doesn't, especially jaguars. And the situation you're talking about is we were trying to capture. We actually had collared a female and followed her for a little over a year and a half, and then her young were about to disperse to go find their own territories to become adults. And before they did that, we wanted to radio collar them to make sure, how did they use corridors, how do they survive, and so as we did in those days, we put the two young jaguars up in a tree. And with my field partner, we ended up loading 2 dart guns, and we picked which ones we were going to dart and had the right dose. We both said 1, 2, 3, fired at the same time, checked our watches, and watched them go to sleep, and said, okay, I think they're down. So I climbed the tree, and while I was up there, actually, I think what happened at that point is we got ready to lower the smaller one, the female, down. So she was fairly well out. So I climbed to the male and tapped him on the tail, and it seemed like everything was fine. So I pulled the new rope up to get the rope attached to his leg. And in doing so, I looked at the branch above, and there was the dart stuck in the tree. So this animal, in all the resistance, here was I touching it, and it stayed calm. Probably their mother had put them up the tree and taken off, and said, "You stay there. I'll be back in a little while." And then along came these humans that were, and they were just frozen and staying in place. And so after seeing this dart, and having my heart go into my throat, of course, I said, I think I'm coming down the tree. And so I went very quietly down the tree, and we loaded another dart and were able to immobilize both of them and then follow them for another year and a half. But at that moment, I think I especially appreciated the power of the animal, the resistance to attack, that this wasn't prey. It didn't feel threatened, didn't feel that it had to do anything. And in some form, I was smiled upon by the jaguar gods again, and I live to at least work with jaguars for another 20 years. So, but every experience, it doesn't have to be an animal right in front of you or an animal that could potentially harm you. I think just sometimes just seeing a track in the wild can be a huge experience. Whether it's a jaguar or an ocelot or a margay, a jaguarundi, it's an amazing experience to understand that there are these very powerful, omnipotent is the way they've been described by many indigenous cultures, animals in the forest, and it really is up to us to make sure that they're there for the next generation. Yeah.
So one of your favorite moments. Oh, I'm sorry. You want to add something?
No.
It was one moment, not 2.
No, you're gonna add another one. Come on.
No, there are many. One of my favorites is that when we, not very long ago, before I joined Panthera, we were working for a couple of years of a species of antelope, the scimitar oryx, which is one of the only antelope which is extinct in the wild. Has been completely wiped out from the wild, from all its distribution range. So his official status is extinct in the wild. And we set up a program. I initiated a program 5 years ago in Abu Dhabi, where we had a large collection of those animals to actually bring them back to their home range. And one of the most powerful moments for me was where after 5 years, that was last year, year and a half ago, we finally bring 40 back there and put them in a pre-release enclosure and open the gate and see this animal moving again with not a sight for us. They just went. And that struck me. I was quite emotional about that, and I said all the guys that we were working, some of them working their whole career for that, 40 years. Mm-hmm. That was the moment they were aspiring to. And we all share a tear and so on when you see these animals going and you feel, well, we've done it. You know, they are back in their home and they are free, you know. But what also fantastic was that we had Chadian nomad from the place there, and we had one grandfather who also was very emotional because he could finally show his grandkids about the animal that he was talking to him about that was there when he was the age of his grandkid. And his grandkid never believed because it's, you know, this is a 100-kilogram type of antelope, this is big. But that kid never could conceive that it was actually true. For him, it was just a mythical animal that his grandfather was talking to him about to put him asleep. And then here it is.
That's wonderful.
And this connection between the generation. Said, okay, now, what I was saying, this grandfather was saying, okay, now my grandkid can actually live and be around animals that I've known. And they disappear in my lifetime, and now they are back. So that was actually fantastic to be part of that and to, yeah, I mean, egocentrically say, well, yeah, I've got a little bit of part in that. But I think that's all.
You're entitled.
I think this is something we'll all aspire to. So that was a very strong moment there.
Wow.
And now, latest news, we have close to 250.
Wow, from that 40 individuals?
And we bring, and they breed like rabbits, they are not like cats. As I say, as soon as they get free space, they multiply.
Amazing.
So that was a very strong moment there.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay, guys, we're pretty much near the end, but I want to ask if there was a myth you wanted to destroy about what Panthera is or Panthera's work, what would it be?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, for me, being relatively new in Panthera, that we only work on big cats. We work on all cats. And I think this is something I want to re-emphasize there. And the second myth is that we are not only scientists studying the cats. We are actually true conservation people, really working to preserve them in the future.
Yeah, and I think another thing also for range countries for jaguar conservation or for cat conservation in general in the Americas, an important thing is that the resources don't have to come from the outside. Everybody thinks conservation is done by people who donate from Europe or people who donate from the United States or whatever, but one of our big goals is to make sure that people appreciate the heritage they already have, their own natural heritage, and that they can be part of that by giving their time, by giving their resources, by giving their financial support. You know, the greatest thing I could see down the line would not only be a security for the 13 cat species of the Americas, but also an upwelling of real appreciation and resources that would come from within to make that happen.
I think I have another myth that we should break. Panthera is not about competing with other organizations or biologists. It's not about replacing anybody. It's about creating a synergy with great scientists and really honest people who are working well to achieve the same goal.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great message for your viewership, and making sure that people understand that Mexico has some wonderful scientists, some very promising young biologists, and that those, as they all work together more in the common goal of not just jaguar conservation, but nature conservation, it's really a Mexican initiative. It's really a Mexican goal. And we do this in throughout Jaguar range, and it really is very, for me, to see this next generation growing within, especially Mexico, and the kind of science base they have to play off of here is really, really encouraging, and makes me optimistic about the future.
Yeah, I think partnership for us is central. But I would say we would like, and we are striving to a different kind of partnership there. Conservation NGOs are notoriously known not to actually collaborate very well with each other. We have to be honest.
Yes,
we are part of the symptom of that sometimes. We are fiercely competitive. We have the wrong perception that donors, being private philanthropists or institutions, have to choose one versus the others, and that we have to be very territorial on things. Very often, the collaboration that we are doing are territorially based, which means this is your area, this is my area, and we agree that we don't overlap. So we define territories, and we define area where we are sure we are not going to overlap or come to conflict with each other. This is not the type of partnership we need if we want to succeed in species conservation. What we need to know, but it takes courage from your own organization to acknowledge what you are not the best at. We know in Panthera what we are good at. There are things we do very well. There are things we bring that we know are quality. The science part, the knowledge part, the fact that we have people and intellect who knows very well about cats. That I can guarantee you we know what we are doing. But there are things we are not very good at. We are not very good at climate change issues. We are not very good at policy work. We are not geared up for that. We try, but we are not the best people to do that there. So what I would move Panthera to is to have this kind of partnership which are not based on territorialities, but about complementarity. Great. Finding partners which are better than we are to do something that we need.
That's great.
And we need to be modest in our approach to others. So finding this complementarity and finding the strength of each organization and collectively be bigger than the sum of the part being together.
Great.
But we will expose ourselves to, being taken for a ride, you know. But I'm ready to do that because I think that this is what we need to do. We can't anymore being fixed in our bubble and trying to pretend that we are the best at everything when it comes to a geography or a species and things. There are so many things. We are talking, when we talk about cat conservation, we have land use issue, infrastructure, policy, politics, economy, trade, community involvement, education, awareness. We can't be a jack of all trade. We can't be good everywhere. So we need to engage on those things and to create synergy rather than territorial partnership.
So I'm a regular guy and I have a regular job, a regular life, and I want to do something about all this. I want to help somehow. What can I do? Or maybe I'm a housewife or just a regular person. How can I make a difference?
Well, in many ways. I mean, the obvious which support the organization which are in the front line, but support organization that speak to you, that you don't necessarily need to spend hours to understand what they're doing and things. It's a little bit like this connection. You need to feel a connection. You need to be at ease with the people, their thinking, their way of doing. So there is multiple ways to support. Financially is obviously one, but it's not the only one, and it's not a possibility for many people to do that. But spreading the message is very important. Spreading the message as we all part of it, that we can all do something to take a little bit of our time, talk to others, share news, share information about an organization or the cats in general, and become a little bit of an advocate in your daily life of respecting wildlife, respecting the fact that we are living in a big world, and bring people to us, put us in contact, network for us, and these kind of things. For me, this is the things that we need. Conservation of nature is not a topic that people talk a lot about it. I mean, you need to actively search for that. Yes. I know that you've been doing research because you have a keen interest, but which one? What are the issues? What are the challenges? What are the things I can take on board and I can participate? But importantly, which one talks to me? It is very important. We are very fortunate to work with cats, so they are very charismatic.
Yes.
They go from the powerful, the big, to the very cutie kitten there, which appeal to a very wide range of people. But to spread the message that these species need us. There is not one of those who can live and thrive in that planet without us doing something for them.
So everybody can do something about it.
So everybody can do something. If anything, spread the message that it's not a given that these species are there forever.
Yes.
It is not. And we have a collective responsibility to make sure that they are there.
A collective responsibility to make a difference. Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, one last message of hope you want to share with the audience?
I think the message about everyone can make a difference is a really good one to leave with everybody, because there's a responsibility. We work with charismatic species. We hope that they're going to be around for a long time to come because we feel that they have a role in the health of the planet. But everyone can become knowledgeable about those species and then spread the word. Whether it's our website or social media or your blog, there's a lot of information out there, and it can be very, very interesting and very picturesque. So thank you for trying to also spread the word, Carlos Eduardo. This is very important, and it's an honor to be part of this.
The honor is all mine, guys.
Yeah, and what I want to conclude is that conservation works. It is working, and it is worth it.
Yes.
Every time we've been in places where we had a level of investment which is sustained for a long time, we got results. Yes. And species conservation required people, required investment, but it's very important that this investment, as little as it is sustained there. But it is working. We know how to do it.
You mentioned something yesterday that really touched me. You said once a species reaches a category of being endangered or critically endangered, it seems like everyone wants to keep that species there. But Panthera's view, your view, is all the contrary. You want to take those species from being critically endangered to being of no concern, to being just back into a healthy population. That's the dream, right?
That's the aim.
That's the aim.
That is the aim. That my dream is one day that we do not need to mobilize millions and millions of dollars to conserve tiger, because they will be in a position that with a healthy population, with a good distribution range, where we just need maintenance attention.
So you think that's possible?
I think that's possible, and we will make it possible, and I think we know how to do it. But it required, sustained effort.
Yes.
It is much more efficient for species conservation to have, talking money, for example, $1 million for 10 years rather than having $10 million 1 year, and then nothing after, which is very often what we tend to have. We have these bursts of attention, big pledges are made, and then nothing. And sustain investment and sustain human presence. Species conservation will not be solved by technology. It will be solved by us people, you being in the field, taking care of those species every day there. And it doesn't require millions. Very often it's time and resources in terms of human resources to do that. And it is worth doing it. I mean, the things you gain philosophically, ethically, it just makes you a better person. And we have to do it.
Absolutely. Conservation makes you a better person. It's part of our essence. And it works, and it's possible. So what do you say? Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Guys, I'm really, really grateful. I think I'm grateful for you, for the work you do, because you allow people like me who are not always in the field. I wish I was all the time in the field, but I'm not. And you allow for people like me to transcend and do something about our planet. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Great to be.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pues ahora sí, hemos llegado al final de esta entrevista que para mí ha sido realmente un parteaguas, ha sido muy importante. Me gustaría saber ustedes qué piensan. Y algo trascendente también es que, de verdad, cualquier esfuerzo cuenta. La suma de los esfuerzos, la sinergia de esos esfuerzos es la única esperanza de hacer una diferencia en nuestro planeta y en el curso que están tomando las cosas. Así que si ustedes pueden ayudar generando conciencia, como ellos dicen, si ustedes pueden ayudar económicamente a las organizaciones que están haciendo algo significativo por mejorar las cosas, eso también es muy fértil. Y uno a veces piensa, 100 pesos, 200 pesos, ¿qué diferencia puede hacer? Pues, créanme, todo hace una diferencia. Lo que se pueda, todo suma, todo cuenta. Por supuesto, estas son acciones que requieren y merecen del mejor de nuestros esfuerzos. Son inversiones, no es dinero que uno regala, es dinero que uno aporta para un bien común, un bien que nos toca a nosotros, aunque veamos a los jaguares muy lejos, aunque nunca en nuestra vida pongamos un pie en la selva, como lo expliqué en la primera misión. Son acciones que nos impactan a nosotros, que impactan a nuestros hijos y que impactarán a las generaciones futuras. Así que hay que apoyar a todas las causas, las humanas son muy importantes, pero no hay que olvidar que la humanidad es parte de la naturaleza y hacer lo mejor que podamos para salvar a nuestro planeta también es salvarnos a nosotros mismos. Así que los dejo con un fuerte abrazo y hasta la próxima. Muchas gracias.
Este es el videoblog de Eduardo Osegueda por el YouTube channel de Fuerza Integral.